Pakistan is blessed with immense opportunity, but this beautiful land and its wonderful people face many challenges. We know how terrorism, corruption, earthquakes, floods and droughts have ravaged our nation. But one of the biggest threats, Pakistan's exploding population, remains unrecognized. It lurks in our midst without us knowing. Pakistan is the sixth most populous country in the world. From 34 million in 1950 to 190 million today, our population is expected to rise to 300 million by 2050. Is this sustainable? What does this mean in a context of resource scarcity? Pakistan is already water stressed. By 2035, water will be scarce. This could have grave implications for food and energy security. If population growth is left unchecked, a disaster may be looming. But why do families have more children in the first place?
बस कोई लड़कों की वजह से कुछ
मेरे 8 बच्चे हैं, 10 साल हो गए। मियाँ की ख्वाहिश थी कि वो फैमिली बड़ी हो, वो मेहनत करके दें।
A range of factors are responsible for large family size, and so the solutions are multifaceted. Women's education and empowerment and societal change are at the core. The role of the health and population sectors in family planning is equally critical. But after 60 years of investment in family planning, the indicators are simply unacceptable. The contraceptive prevalence is around 34%, and the unmet need for family planning is 20%.
The unmet need for family planning is one of the major issues, which means there are at least 25% of women of reproductive age or couples who do not want any more children and who do not want to have increase their family size, yet they are not using family planning.
72% of women at the time of interview of Population Council recent survey, they reported that they want to space their births. But only 35% of them are using contraceptives. Out of 3.9 children that each woman of reproductive age is bearing, one child is unwanted. And there are 4 million unwanted pregnancies in Pakistan.
हमें पता नहीं था वफ़के का, कमर में दर्द होता था, चल नहीं सकती थी, बीमार होगी, सेहत बहुत ख़राब होनी शुरू हो गई। मियाँ नहीं माना, लेकिन डॉक्टर साहब ने उनको कहा है तो अभी मियाँ मानेगा। मैंने कहा मैं बच्चे और नहीं पैदा कर सकती, बीमार रहती हूँ हर टाइम। हाँ, बच्चे अब ज़्यादा हैं और नहीं कर सकती।
Look at the national statistics. The tremendous gap in what is desirable and what were the targets in terms of contraceptive prevalence, in terms of the total fertility rate, these two vital things, and decades of insomnia. And believe me, I don't think anyone is worried.
The systems we have built have clearly not functioned. Pakistan adopted the policy goal of universal health coverage for family planning 5 decades ago. A nationwide family planning program and health infrastructure are meant to provide access to family planning. Donors have provided free commodities for over 50 years. Training institutes and information systems have been established nationwide. But there is a disconnect between these systems and the goals they are meant to pursue. Can the 18th Constitutional Amendment and devolution to the provinces be a lever through which these systemic problems can be overcome? To look into systems problems, we must first understand how the system works for family planning and analyze each of the system's pillars. There are many service delivery arrangements working for family planning. But there is a problem here. Health and population exist as separate institutional hierarchies in Pakistan. There is a long history of attempts to merge them. Federal Ministries of Health and Population were abolished in 2010 by the 18th Amendment. In 2013, Health and Population were integrated into one federal ministry. But at the provincial level, even after the 18th Amendment, both structures are separate. The reality on ground is that health does not own family planning, and the family planning hierarchy has limited expertise and outreach in health.
What we've had and what we still have at provincial level are two vertical programs still operating. Family planning, population on the one side, and health on the other. The devolution is an opportunity for the provinces now to fully integrate reproductive health services into mainstream health so that people can access family planning at any health facility that they visit.
Women in Pakistan's conservative societies don't want to be seen going to clinics which brand family planning. They want to be counseled quietly.
इसमें ज़्यादातर जो आती हैं एंटीनेटल आती हैं, पोस्टनेटल आती हैं और चाइल्ड केयर के लिए आती हैं. इसके अलावा फैमिली प्लानिंग फिर हम खुद उनमें से निकालते हैं और ज़्यादातर को पता भी है कि ये जो क्लिनिक है ये भलाई मरकज़ इसीलिए बना हुआ है कि यहाँ पे ये वक्फ़ा करते हैं. क्योंकि अगर मैं ये कहूँ कि मैं सिर्फ फैमिली प्लानिंग के लिए बैठी हूँ तो फिर आपको पता है अकेले एक काम के लिए तो कोई भी नहीं आता ना. तो हम इसी तरह मेडिसिन दे के हम कैंप करते हैं. हम उनसे अब 20 पेशेंट अगर आई हैं तो मैं उनसे जब लिखती हूँ कितने बच्चे हैं, 4 बच्चे हैं, हाँ जी इसके पीछे कोई वक्फ़ा किया हुआ है. फिर इस तरह बात चल निकलती है और ज़्यादातर को ख़ुद भी पता होता है. वो ख़ुद बताती हैं कि जी मैं आई हूँ वक्फ़ा करने के लिए. तो बात यह है कि मेडिसिन हम देते ही इसीलिए कि लोगों को हमारा पता चले और हमारे क्लिनिक में आए.
तो उनकी सास को कहते हैं कि हम अंदर चेक कर रहे हैं. तो फिर उन लोगों के लिए ये बहुत आसानी होती है कि सर दर्द बुखार के बहाने आके मेरे साथ फैमिली प्लानिंग की बात कर लेती हैं, मशवरा कर लेते हैं, सहूलत अवेल कर लेते हैं.
It makes sense to merge health and population, but there are opinions for and against it.
In my opinion, merger of health and population department would be counterproductive as far as family planning services are concerned. Merger of two departments was tried in Bangladesh at the behest of the donors. The two countries have similar structures and it was an unmitigated disaster. And Bangladesh has reverted to its old scheme of separate departments. I don't think there is any point in replicating failures.
I think that integration between population and health is a vital link. It's got to be national strategy, it's got to be a provincial strategy, and we were able to integrate the population cadre of women in the population ministry and integrate it with the lady health worker scheme. And I admit that the kind of national policy which would make population and health an integrated facility for the citizen, we were never able to achieve.
Pakistan has made many attempts to merge health and population. This has been the subject of many studies. But each time, the process is stalled. The major opposition comes from functionaries of the Population Welfare Department.
कि कहीं ऐसा ना हो कि ये डिपार्टमेंट जाके हेल्थ में जो है ना इसको जम कर दिया जाए या उसके साथ ये मर्ज हो जाए, तो उस लेवल पर लोगों में एक एंजाइटी किस्म की है, एक अनईजी लोग फील करते हैं.
Even now, in written solicited communications, some population welfare departments explicitly state that they have no plans to integrate health and population. Some are evasive about the answer to this question. Provinces need to make radical change. They must choose a policy option to integrate health and population. In institutional merger of health and population is one option which can also eliminate administrative overhead. But at the barest minimum, use of the same package of services of functional integration should be the aim. The health sector must assume greater responsibility of family planning. To its credit, one province has made some progress by integrating MNCH and family planning vertical program and by including family planning as a strategy for reducing MMR. A lot more can happen if the LHW program and the community midwives start refocusing on family planning and reproductive health. If basic health units and rural health centers and other health facilities scale up family planning, and if postpartum family planning is initiated truly in tertiary care, both in the public and private sectors, health and population goals could be stipulated in a unified policy. Both sectors could have joint PC1s for funding. Their pricing policy for contraceptives can be made uniform. They could synchronize their communication strategies. Family welfare workers not accredited by any agency can be brought under the licensing umbrella of the Pakistan Nursing Council, as was initiated by the federal government in 2010 in one province. Population sector training institutes could conduct training of health personnel, and the health sector could start reporting on family planning indicators. There's little justification for inaction in these areas. In particular, the deep community linkages of lady health workers can be actively harnessed. But incentives have to be part of a motivation-based program. We know from research in other countries that stipends for community workers help. Provinces could adopt similar incentive-building policies. These can create a real difference towards the overall objectives. Health and population have shared agendas with maternal and child health and reproductive health as core themes. Family planning is the single most low-cost solution for lowering infant mortality rate and maternal mortality ratio, and for addressing Millennium Development Goals 4 and 5. The health sector must do more for family planning. Integration of health and population is critical, but it will solve only part of the problem because of the systemic problems which plague functioning of public service delivery in the health and population sectors. There are examples of successful reform and progress in some provinces. Partnerships with NGOs have created promising pilots, but by and large there are well-established patterns of inefficiency. Choked Pipes has described malpractices in outreach programs. Collusion between the district office and family welfare staff has been described. Lack of oversight has been blamed. Deliberate inattention to oversight and malpractices are responsible for a number of problems. Absenteeism, illegal use of fees, contraceptive pilferage, ghost satellite clinics, outright theft of supplies, wastage and false reporting. It is anecdotally known that in some family welfare centers, staff are complicit. Higher authorities have also been blamed for their failure to compel accountability, and there are allegations of misconduct. This pattern of institutional corruption calls for a major accountability and transparency drive. We know that contraceptives frequently disappear from the supply chain, but it is the type of contraceptive which will determine how it will disappear.
बहुत कम होता है, ठीक है। गवर्नमेंट की नहीं, गवर्नमेंट की ये है कि दवाइयाँ ऐसी होती हैं कि उनको चोरी करके बंदा करेगा क्या। उससे बेहतर नहीं बंदा उधर से ले ले।
नहीं, कॉन्ट्रासेप्टिव किसी ने क्या चोरी करने किस चीज़ के लिए जो चीज़ 3-3 रुपए की मिल रही हो और 2-3 महीने का स्टॉक आपके पास पड़ा हो तो मेरा ख्याल है ये चीज़ चोरी होने वाली नहीं है, किसी और चीज़ का ये चीज़ चोरी होने वाली नहीं है.
These women are right. Cheap contraceptives are not stolen. They are wasted to meet targets.
The leakage of contraceptives, yes, there is evidence of it. Cartons of condoms were dredged out of the River Ravi, and I happened to have access, and they were shown to me. I don't know how much more evidence we have got of this, but there is enough for us to take cognizance of the leakage of contraceptives.
There is also evidence of false reporting. For example, there is a wide difference in contraceptive prevalence rate reporting for intrauterine device between independent and government sources. Consignments also get expired lying on shelves.
Yeah, wastage in the sense that, it has a shelf life. The things should not get expired lying down in the warehouse. It has to be managed in a manner that it reaches the end user, the client.
The high value ones, such as injections, can be stolen, taken to private clinics, or sold to pharmacies. Each of the 4 provinces has different capacity to deal with these problems. In most cases, malpractices are just accepted practices. How can we address these distortions? IUD leakage can be picked up through monitoring, as every woman receiving an IUD has her address recorded. Consignments of medicines can be pre-marked. GPRS positioning can pick up absenteeism. A rethink of price strategy can counter wastage. These solutions can be the first step to reform. But some policy questions will have to be addressed first. It is critical for reform to re-engineer management and, most importantly, create the right incentives. In addition to family welfare clinics, the Population Welfare Department also has other service delivery outlets. The reproductive health A centers are situated in public hospitals.
मेरा नाम डॉक्टर सारा गुल है और मैं इंचार्ज RHSA सवाबी काम करती हूँ SWMO. बेसिकली इट इज़ रिप्रोडक्टिव हेल्थ सर्विसेज सेंटर टाइप A. हम काम करते हैं रिप्रोडक्टिव हेल्थ सर्विसेज पे. ये एक कंप्लीट पैकेज होता है जिसमें इसके बहुत सारे कंपोनेंट्स हैं, जिसमें फैमिली प्लानिंग, एंटीनेटल केयर, पोस्टनेटल केयर, ट्रीटमेंट ऑफ STD, सेक्सुअली ट्रांसमिटेड डिजीज़ेस, इनफर्टिलिटी, काउंसलिंग, एडोलेसेंट केयर, ये सारी चीज़ें इसमें आती हैं. इट्स अ कंप्लीट पैकेज ऑफ रिप्रोडक्टिव हेल्थ सर्विसेज. इसके अलावा हमारे अपने फील्ड मोबिलाइजर्स हैं, स्टाफ हैं जो कि हमारे साथ हमारे पेशेंट्स लेके आते हैं. यहाँ पर ज़्यादातर जब कॉन्ट्रासेप्टिव, हमारे पास 2 टाइप के ऑप्शन हैं, परमानेंट कॉन्ट्रासेप्टिव है और टेम्परेरी कॉन्ट्रासेप्टिव है. फैमिली प्लानिंग, फैमिली लिमिटेशन, दोनों पे हम काम करते हैं.
Many RHSAs suffer from the general pattern of inefficiency in the public sector. High turnover of doctors is a major problem, who see this as a stopgap parking space. Inefficiency of the health sector also impact RHSAs. Reform of the health sector must encompass measures to revitalize RHSAs. RHSBs are another service delivery option. These are based in the private sector and NGOs.
And it's a very good public-private partnership, on the RHSB centers. They were generally around Pakistan, there were 113. These centers did mostly contraceptives, all contraceptives, but specifically on contraceptive surgery. And we had a system of institutional reimbursement. So there was all the SOPs, the guidelines were set and all, and it used to work very well. We wanted to increase it also because we need all partners, the private sector, the NGO sector, to work in tandem with the ministry. After devolution, the provincial government has not given it so much priority.
After devolution, many RHSBs have now been abandoned. Some are in locations which were ideal for women's access, as is the case in this RHSB, which was inside a women's community center. The center was also the hub of economic activity for poor women, who linked up with a sewing and stitching cooperative. Alongside, they also had the opportunity to undergo surgery quietly. After devolution, these RHSBs are now closed. Their surgical theatres present a sorry picture of investment that has gone to waste and an opportunity which remains untapped. Provincial governments have abandoned most RHSBs because they cannot afford to pay the reimbursement fee anymore.
So there's a huge gap. There's a gap of 20% which in 6 years we have to reach. How can this happen? Unless the public sector, the private sector, the NGO and everybody moves in tandem.
RHSBs are vital to tap the potential of the private sector. Provinces must examine which RHSBs to revitalize and continue support. "55% of the family planning coverage is estimated to be by the private sector in Pakistan. With 20% unmet need, there's great potential for social marketing, especially if it is expanded in the rural areas. Pakistan was a global leader in social franchising in the 1900s. Social franchising can play an important role in making long-acting, reversible contraceptives available to around 40% couples who want to delay the next birth or are undecided on the timing of the next birth. There are many promising models, those that train local health entrepreneurs and others that use vouchers for family planning. Provinces should scale up successful models rather than abandon them. Male mobilizers are part of Pakistan's family planning program.
In a country where you have got a patriarchal system, where you have got son preference, where you have got everything that goes around the male psyche, how on earth can we neglect male responsibility, responsible fatherhood, and take Islam? The male mindset has to be changed. Male thinking has to be changed. I want to give you the example of Iran, of Indonesia, of even Bangladesh, where the men of these countries are taking the lead in responsible fatherhood. And here we have a program where the male is neglected. The male mobilizer was brought in at the district level, and the male mobilizer was there to interact with the community, with the male leadership of the community. There was a huge job for him to do, but nothing has happened. Nothing. I think most regrettably that those people who have been appointed are political appointees, with no job description even.
The male mobilizer was the only actor in the program which mobilized men's support for family planning. But this cadre soon became an easy route for political appointments, defeating the whole purpose. This program must be depoliticized and made effective.
So the time has come, this is low-hanging fruit. Let us involve our fathers. Let us involve our brothers. And until they do not join this campaign, you are not going to have the level of comfort that is needed in a family.
The increase in CPR between 2006-07 and 2012-13 is mainly due to men's involvement. This demonstrates that men are indeed interested in family planning. The Male Mobilizer program must be made effective and should be actively leveraged. Mobile service units were meant to take services to underserved areas. They have played an important role during floods and periods of internal displacements and can also help in underserved areas. But even before devolution, it was well known that mobile clinics often open the avenue for rampant corruption. Unfortunately, some provinces are upscaling this program even with full knowledge of the risks that are involved. Others have no ownership of this program.
लेकिन वो विलेज बेस पर करके वो साथ हमारा कांटेक्ट होता है, क्योंकि हम लोग गांव में जाना, उनके साथ काम करना, वो क्या करती हैं उनको देखना, तो अब वो ख़त्म हो गया। हम लोग फिर सेंटरों में काम कर रहे हैं। पहले ये सैटेलाइट कैंप था हमारा, अब ख़त्म हो गए हैं।
Mobile clinics are a vital part of outreach, but in order to be effective, they must be transparently operated. But in addition to services, we must also invest in trust building for family planning methods.
Normally, when we are looking at the unmet need, we are only looking at the supply side of the problem. The problem is not only the supply, it's the demand side of the problem. The issues like the low confidence on contraceptive because of the side effect, some bad image of something that they may have heard, or some bad experience that one of the neighbors have gone through. There are also issues that you may find where people are questioning what does religion say about family planning, and these are all barrier side from a demand side. Behavior change communication looks at all the aspects of these demand side.
Human resource is an important pillar of the system, and training its cement. Prior to devolution, the Ministry of Population Welfare had invested in regional training institutes.
I remember that these training institutes were the one component of the program that not only performed well, but were the pride of the program. Most of the principals at these RTIs were lady doctors who were extremely committed, dedicated, and worked very hard. Most importantly, they understood the need that the field force, the field workers had to be very well trained in order to do their jobs in the field.
We had uniform standardized curriculums, we had competency-based skill trainings, and there was exchange visits of teachers, faculty and all, question banks. So it was a sort of a whole system which was working very well, and the story goes before devolution that I am talking about.
Regional training institutes and associated human resource plans should be a priority. They are critical both for the family welfare as well as the health program. The regional training institutes can also be made sustainable by offering courses to women entrepreneurs who want to open counseling clinics.
हमारी ज़्यादातर आबादी गांव में रहती है, तो ये उन्हीं गांव से उठ के ये हमारी बच्चियां आई हैं, तो हम चाहते हैं कि इधर तालीम हासिल करके अपने इलाकों में जाके लोगों को सर्व करें.
Bridging the link between family planning and entrepreneurship can have a win-win effect. Sustainability for RTAs, promotion of entrepreneurship, women's empowerment, and furthering the family planning agenda. Health information system is an important systems pillar.
Census, which was undertaken in 1998, needs to be updated, and we need to have a fresh census for population in Pakistan, which should give us the latest picture in terms of not only where do we stand in terms of numbers, but also what is the growth rate at the national, provincial and the district level.
Pakistan hasn't had a census for the last 16 years, although it is constitutionally mandated every 10 years. The Council of Common Interests must prioritize this. We need to accord attention to the metrics of fertility and family planning. Measures need to be included in population-based surveys that are institutionalized within the Pakistan Bureau of Statistics and within the district health information system. Currently, there is no mechanism to tap data from private sector sources. This gap needs to be bridged. We must collect, analyze, and relay data for policy making in a timely manner, and focus on creating demand so that information can help inform policy. Extensive supply chain and logistics management is an important pillar of the family planning system.
Without contraceptives, there is no program.
There are around estimated 23 million of married women of reproductive age who are at the risk of getting pregnant. More than 300,000 health facilities or community-based distribution points which are in the need of family planning products. Then what are the mechanisms of supply chain management and systems which are responsive to the needs of those women in Pakistan?
Donors have played an important role in contraceptive procurement and supporting the supply chain in Pakistan. UNFPA prior to 2009 and USAID thereafter.
In any commercial industry, you have to be on top of the supply chains. The same concept has to be applied to the public health supply chains. We can apply advanced supply chain management principles of management of commercial industry into a public sector environment. So in 2009, we started our operations. We started working on LMIS, a Logistics Management Information System, to bring Pakistan the visibility and availability of data for policymakers and provincial and district managers to ensure that commodities are available on time, districts are making requests on time, and it was a task that has to change a lot of policy and operations environment in Pakistan. It was a national system for all 143 districts of Pakistan. We connected the supplies directly from central warehouse to districts on quarterly basis. We provided support on contraceptive, transportation financing.
पब्लिक सेक्टर का ये वाहिद वेयर हाउस होगा, हो सकता है एशिया रीजन का, जो ISO सर्टिफाइड है.
But what we have done is, we have done a very Pakistani contextualized manuals with each provincial requirement translated into action.
This supply chain, which worked well pre-devolution, is now faced with many challenges.
बल्कि बहुत आसानी होती थी. हम लोग यहाँ से एक रिक्वेजिशन भेज देते थे और वहाँ पे वो एंटरटेन वो कर लेते थे उसको, उसकी जो हमारी डिमांड होती थी वो हमें भेज देते थे. और यहाँ किसी भी जो है वो बस स्टॉप पे वो उनकी एबिलिटी आ जाती थी, वहाँ से हम उठा लेते थे और वो बहुत ईजी था हमारे लिए. हमारे पास कभी कॉन्ट्रासेप्टिव ख़त्म नहीं हुए थे. जब ये मिनिस्ट्रीज़ के डिवेलपमेंट के बाद जो है ना, जो हालात ख़राब हुए उसमें ये हुआ है कि वेयर हाउस ने कहा है कि हम छोटे जो सेटअप्स हैं उनको नहीं दे रहे, आप बड़े आप किसी सेटअप के साथ आप अपनी डिमांड भी भेजें. तो फिर हम लोग पहले तो बारो करते थे, पिंडी डिस्ट्रिक्ट से भी बारो करते रहे, सम टाइम मुझे चकवाल डिस्ट्रिक्ट से भी लाना ही पड़े कॉन्ट्रासेप्टिव. मेरे पास बिल्कुल कॉन्ट्रासेप्टिव ख़त्म हो गए थे, तो फिर मैंने चकवाल डिस्ट्रिक्ट के जो डिस्ट्रिक्ट ऑफिसर हैं उनसे भी मंगवाए थे.
With responsibility split between provinces and the federal government, many issues have emerged.
आज भी अगर सूबे ये काम शुरू कर दें तो 3 से 4 साल लगते हैं.
Is it necessary to reinvent the wheel? Why do provinces want to get into the business of contraceptive procurement? Is it not better to use existing logistic arrangements of the federal government? Should the provinces not pay more attention to pilferage from the supply chain and explore how truckloads of contraceptives get stolen and sold in neighboring markets? USAID has been funding all contraceptive procurement since 2009. There is a problem here, which will unfold in 2015.
The challenge of commodities security is particularly an urgent one because currently the US Deliver project is funding and supplying almost 100% of the contraceptives that are going into the public sector in all provinces, across all provinces in Pakistan.
The USAID is there till 2014 to give for the commodity security and all, but what beyond that? That's the biggest issue now.
But what happens when they leave?
Provinces will need to step in and the federal government will also need to step in to ensure that the finances are there, the logistics are there, the warehouses are there, to make sure that there aren't any stockouts, any interruptions of supply.
Some provincial governments have already made investments to procure contraceptives once USAID funding finishes, but the others are lagging. The federal government and the provinces need to work together to streamline roles and to ensure commodity security. The supply chain isn't the only area where the federal government has a role in the population sector. There is a need for national vision and policy. Countries with large populations accord national priority to population as an issue. China has a federal commission. Indonesia has a board. Pakistan created the National Commission on Population Welfare in 2005. It never functioned properly, and after the 18th Amendment, it has just vanished into thin air.
Devolution is not abdication.
I think the federal government has abdicated the right to plan, the right to ask questions, the right to look at statistics, the right to set standards.
The federal government has many roles after the 18th Amendment. These are outlined in Federal Legislative Lists 1 and 2. The mandate for these roles has been given to the Ministry of National Health Services, Regulation and Coordination.
In terms of devolution, there's one major area that hasn't changed, and that's the governance related to international commitments, the International Conference on Population Development. The second one coming up for review next year is the expiry of the Millennium Development Goals. The other process that has taken place is another one called Family Planning 2020. So these agreements will be monitored by the federal government, but delivery of those agreements will take place at provincial level.
The federal government also has service delivery responsibilities.
18th Amendment has nothing to do with Gilgit-Baltistan or AJK or ICT or FATA.
A number of important research institutes are under the control of the Ministry of Health. The National Institute of Population Studies is one of them, but its importance was never fully recognized. It serves as a parking space for bureaucrats. It remains underfunded and focused on a narrow mandate.
इस इदारे का भी हमें मैंडेट जो है एक्सपेंड करने की ज़रूरत है ताकि ये इदारा जो है पॉपुलेशन और डेमोग्राफी के साथ साथ बाकी जो हेल्थ कंपोनेंट हैं या हेल्थ सेक्टर एज ए होल उसके डिफरेंट कंपोनेंट्स और डिफरेंट प्रोग्राम्स को भी एग्जामिन कर सके, एवेल्यूएट कर सके और उस पर सर्वेज और रिसर्च अपनी कंडक्ट कर सके। नेचुरली इस हवाले से विद इन द इंस्टीट्यूट भी हमें रिफॉर्म्स लेने की ज़रूरत पड़ेगी। इसके स्कोप को एक्सपेंड करने के साथ साथ इसमें जो पर्सनल है, कैपेसिटी है इस इदारे की, उसको भी हमें थोड़ा रिव्यू करने की ज़रूरत पड़ेगी।
Another research institute, the National Research Institute for Fertility Control, can help in making contraceptives more acceptable.
The main functions of NRFC are to remove the side effect produced by contraceptives.
NRFIC is not a priority. It has limited funding and suffers from the human resource issues which devolved institutions are facing.
A lot of persons were retired, scientists were retired, but no replacement was done by the ministry.
Reform cannot be successful without a research base, which is why we must invest in these research institutions. The National Trust for Population Welfare is another important federal institution. It was created to promote partnership with government, NGOs and the private sector. But the potential of this institution was never tapped. After devolution, it is in a sorry state.
आज अगर आप नेट को देखते हैं तो पिछले गालबन I must say immediate after devolution इसका कोई वाली वारिस ही नहीं है। अब ये फिक्रा बड़ा आयरॉनिकल है कि भाई हम फेडरल गवर्नमेंट है, मैं खुद कह रहा हूँ कि इसका वाली वारिस नहीं है। मतलब ये है कि इसके पास कोई टर्म्स ऑफ रेफरेंस नहीं है। उसका 104 एंडोमेंट फंड है, 104 मिलियन 104 मिलियन उन्होंने बैंक में इन्वेस्ट किया हुआ है। 9,83,000 रुपया उनको मंथ की इंटरेस्ट इनकम है। 9,83,000 होगा या 73,000 होगा, बट इस मोर देन इज लेस देन 1 मिलियन। तो लेस देन 1 मिलियन उनका इंटरेस्ट इनकम है। 31 people are working there और उनका सैलरी स्ट्रक्चर जो है वो 8,70,000-72,000 कुछ है। जो इंटरेस्ट इनकम माइनस सैलरी जो उनके पास बचता है, वो फिगर मुझे याद है, वो 72,000 रुपये है। 72,000 रुपये पर मंथ अवेलेबल है नेटपो के पास आफ्टर सैलरी। अभी उन्होंने रेंटल देना है, उन्होंने यूटिलिटी बिल्स देने हैं, उन्होंने स्टेशनरी ख़रीदनी है, उन्होंने पोस्टल के बिल पे करने हैं। कैसे करेंगे? और असल काम जिसके लिए नेटपो बना है उसके लिए उनके पास एक पैनी का फाइनेंशियल स्पेस नहीं है। देयरफॉर उनके पास फाइनेंशियल स्पेस नहीं है, उनके पास जॉब नहीं है, टास्क नहीं है, उनको टास्क हमने किया नहीं है, उसका बोर्ड इन प्लेस नहीं है, उसका चीफ एग्जीक्यूटिव ऑफिसर नहीं है। क्या हो रहा है कि जो इंटरेस्ट इनकम आती है उसमें से तनख्वाह दे दी जाती है, लोग अपने अपने घरों में बैठे हुए हैं। 5, 6, 7, 8 व्हीकल्स आर लाइंग, इतने पानी में वो गाड़ियाँ आज भी खड़ी हैं, उनको पार करने की जगह हमारे पास नहीं है।
The lack of support for these institutions is tragic. If NATPA was functioning, it could fully engage the private sector and help upscale Pakistan's pioneering efforts in family planning. It is not just NATPA but most institutions involved in the family planning effort which suffer from malaise and deep distortions, unable to deliver on their mandate, leading the nation to fail on its 5-decade-long goal of universal coverage for family planning. We blame religion and social factors, but one of the real reasons why we have been unable to reduce fertility as have other countries is because our systems have been unable to cater to the unmet need in family planning. These governance shortcomings must be tackled. In addition to the provinces, the federal government also has an important role in family planning, which it must step up to. We do acknowledge that provinces have made some progress after the 18th Amendment, but there's a long way to go and need for serious course correction. It is positive that provinces have allocated funds for procuring contraceptives, but they may be making the mistake of reinventing the procurement system wheel when the option of seeking help from the federal government exists by invoking Article 147 of the Constitution to benefit from economies of scale. Also, on a positive note, provinces have allocated funds for the population program, but allocations in recurrent budgets may just be enough for salaries. Provinces must recognize that there is a fixed provincial share in the next NFC and that no new envelope may be forthcoming from the federal government in 2015. It is entirely their responsibility to allocate money for program activities. Similarly, it is auspicious that provinces have regularized the lady health workers, but they must also tackle other human resource issues, quantitative and qualitative discrepancies, and issues of accountability. Federal and provincial governments are framing population policies, but they need to have a unified national vision for population. Pakistan is signatory to FP 2020, but the federal government and provinces are not on one page with regard to targets. One province outrightly refuses to embrace population planning as a policy goal due to political considerations, as it envisages itself to be underpopulated and as such marginalized in Pakistan's federal system. There is just no federal instrument to influence this process. Our call to action has many recommendations because there really is an urgent need to recognize the imperative to reform each of the service delivery pillars. A lot of things need to happen at the strategic and tactical levels, at the political and systems levels, and all of this needs to happen in tandem. Many of us have a role. The Council of Common Interests must prioritize a national census and forge federal-provincial convergence for a national vision on family planning in line with FP 2020. Leadership has to embrace girls' education and women's empowerment as an overarching priority. The Prime Minister must reformulate the National Commission on Population Welfare and make it work this time. The Federal Ministry of Health should play its constitutional role and revitalize its research and normative agencies and take responsibility for commodity security. The Chief Ministers should lead intersectoral arrangements that can hold stakeholders accountable for implementing policy commitments, and in the process, they must also integrate health and population. Parliamentarians should refrain from patronage, as that is detrimental for program outcomes. NGOs have to help upscale best practices. The private sector has to be on board. Families, men and women, mothers-in-law, and most importantly, couples all have to be part of the solution. Our failure to promote family planning could have great repercussions. Pakistan's galloping population is imposing an unmanageable demand on the economy, the social sector, and the environment. It is not just the future we have to worry about. We are facing the crunch as we speak. 3 million people, a whole new city is added to the population every year. Our hospitals, schools, roads, cities are all crumbling under this pressure. There are serious implications for food, energy, and water security. The country is literally bursting at the seams. Today, Pakistan's exploding population is the real crisis that threatens the prosperity of our generations. In the face of resource scarcity, constrained economic opportunities, and joblessness, population growth is simply pushing youth further into the hands of terrorists, gangs, and mafias. It is fueling a fire that is ravaging our country. We must stabilize our population. This is not just an imperative for women's health, well-being, and poverty reduction. It is necessary for national progress and development and the security of our nation.